What's up? What's up? What's up, friends, family, and fans? It is I, Stone Stafford, and I am rocking with the best, my right-hand man.
It's your man, Johnny. What's up?
Welcome to L.I.F.E podcast. You already know this is where we listen and inspire friends
Everywhere.
And we mean that. Yo, if you are new here or if you haven't done it yet, go ahead and take a chance right now. Take a chance. Because this is a gamble. You don't know if you'll like it or not. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe, man. Trust me, I think we're going to like what you hear. Today, we are talking about something that's actually, I think is very important, and hopefully we'll get some clarification. We're talking about self-love versus self-discipline. Now, I think this is an extremely important topic. One of the reasons why is how, I think it was just in the last episode, not the last episode, it was an episode, I forgot who we were talking to. It was either the one with Liddell and Stevie.
Okay, that was like 3 episodes ago.
Or it was the one with Lee where we were talking about how terms now are becoming like fad terms, like woke, for example. How now woke, even for what it originally meant, now it's just like this fad term. And people are just throwing it around now just to be throwing it around, right? I feel like that's happening with the term self-love. I feel that that's now being just thrown, like almost anything where you're catering to yourself or coddling yourself is now being termed self-love, and it's losing its
self-love, self-care. I think all of those have been hyper extended beyond.
I'm on a personal. It's a personal thing with mine that I want to set that record straight.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Because what I'm finding is a lot of things that people are doing with self-love, it looks like a whole lot of coddling, looks like a whole lot of softness, and which is fine. All that is part of loving yourself. But if you think that's what self-love is, then I think you're sadly mistaken. So I'm
sorry.
All right, Genuine. Man. God.
Get to the wink at the end.
I gotta remember that. Hopefully, I'll throw that clip in there. But yeah. So let's just start from. Let's just get right into it. We're not gonna do segues and all this kind of. Let's just jump right into it.
Yeah.
So this is what I feel self-love is.
Okay.
And I actually look forward to you being like, no, because we tend to be disagreeing on stuff. All right. So here we go. This is self-love, or part of it. All right. These are some of the aspects of self-love. Self-love is appreciating yourself. Okay. Self-love is doing things to benefit your physical, psychological, and spiritual well-being. Okay. Self-love is recognizing your value, your worth, and your right to be happy. All right. Self-love means not sacrificing your well-being just to please other people. And then lastly, I feel that self-love, well, you know what? I'm going to say the last one. Okay. I'm going to say the last one. Do you disagree, agree with where I feel this is an exhaustive list. But
yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those, another one of those subjective things. We could create a list nonstop. I'm going to do one of these things where it's actually a phrase I hate to hear because I think it's also overused, but I'm going to use it because it's the new fad thing. I feel that self-love is holding space for yourself to incorporate everything that you just said into one place for you as you would do for others. Because one thing that we do, most of us in the human species, we will give grace and give leeway, give people rope to hang themselves. We do all of that for everybody else, but we're the hardest on ourselves. We don't give ourselves the same leeway that we give everybody else around us.
I'm using discipline because I could have jumped on a rabbit trail right then when you said we're hardest on ourselves, because that's actually a deep comment there that kind of goes to where I want to go, but I'm not going to rabbit trail.
No, do it, man.
Well, I will, but I still want to kill. When I rabbit trail, then I start losing my format.
It's 50% of your podcast. You could do it. Rabbit trail.
Anyway, but if I'm going to do that, let me give the contrasting on what I believe self-love is not. All right? Okay. Self-love is not avoiding sacrifices for others due to inconvenience or healthy discomfort. To me, that's the mirror to self-love is not sacrificing yourself just for the sake of others, just for the sake of pleasing others. But the flip side of that is self-love is not avoiding sacrifice altogether just because it's inconvenient or healthily is that a word, healthily uncomfortable.
I think that's just selfishness at that point, though.
Well, and we're going to get to that point. Well, the key word here is avoiding sacrifice because it's inconvenient and because it's uncomfortable. Well, and we're going to dig into that. Self-care is...
Oh, that's sticky.
Yeah. Self-love is not coddling yourself. All right? Self-love is not grading yourself on a curve so as not to be too hard on yourself. Self-love is not laziness and not pushing yourself. And then to your point, self-love is not selfishness or self-gratification.
Okay. So I see how you did the build-up. Yeah. One thing that I've been noticing a lot with a bunch of people, even in my immediate circles, is that they've, again, just like we're just saying, are using these words to the maximum for just about every opportunity they possibly can. And they're using self-love and my mental health state, and I have to get my self-care because I'm not doing well in situations where they just haven't applied themselves enough in the situation.
Exactly.
Which I think goes to the laziness point that you were...
part of the laziness point. And that's the segue into self-love versus self-discipline. And I wanted to say the best for last.
I got you. It's I think, and it has there's a metric that's used. And the two endpoints of the metric is hard times create strong men. And then times of peace or quiet times create weak men. Yeah. And we have, in essence, even though you pay attention to the fact that for all intents and purposes, the world has been at war for the past 25 years. But it hasn't been the type of warring. It hasn't been massive invasions everywhere, even though we have the Ukraine thing going on right now. But I mean, we've had those stressors, but for all intents and purposes, things have been relatively calm, and it's allowed us to become weak as a species, I feel. And a lot of our mindsets have downgraded that bar for when to be disciplined and when to love yourself is so much lower now. So now it's like whenever you have any kind of stress, it's immediately, I need to take care of myself. My self-care is low. I need to focus on me. And it's like, you just had a rough day. Yeah.
It still goes back. I will probably give Bert Weiss from the Bert Show probably just eternal credit when I think he coined the phrase, the whole wussification of America.
He didn't.
He didn't?
But no.
I keep giving him credit for that. But
so the first person I heard say it was Public Enemy.
Chuck D?
Chuck D. So I heard Chuck D say it. He came and spoke at UCF when I was at school. And he said, wussification and dumbassification was the first time I heard those two words in a speech. And I have heard Bert say it too. Yeah. But I mean, it's so apropos to where we are now. Because I think, is. Almost 20 years ago when I was in college, we were on that upslope of beginning this trend of, I'm going to just be soft because I can say self-care and use that as a reason to not do something.
Yeah, it's just the term. We don't know what to do with these terms. And what we do, and I just had this talk with my sister Janelle and a friend of mine, we were all at dinner, of how we take these terms and we put definitions to them that fit what we like.
Our internal, whatever reflects internally for us.
I was watching, this burned me up so much, Johnny, and I know you feel I walk the line with this sometimes, but this guy was interviewing a woman for all intents and purposes, and he said something, and he said, well, like if I talk to you and I said, well, she's something, she said, well, first of all, you wouldn't call me a she. And he said, what, excuse me? He was taken off guard. And he said, what? He said, well, I identify as non-binary. He says, oh, okay. Well, I said, yeah, so I need you to respect. He said, well, okay. I mean, I can respect that, but I mean, clearly you're a she. So he said, yeah, but I don't identify that. It goes, all right. So if I were to, and he said something like, if I were to identify as a tree, you have to refer to me as a tree or itch. He goes, if you wish. He said, you don't see anything kind of ridiculous with that? You're offended because I called you a she when clearly you're of a feminine gender? She goes, I don't identify that. And in fact, the fact that you don't want to, this is what got me. That part of the conversation didn't bother me. She said, and the fact that you won't, I feel physically threatened by you right now and unsafe. Yeah. Bruh, I almost threw my phone. Yeah. And the dude was like, what? She goes, yes. As a matter of fact, we need to end this right now because I feel very unsafe with you. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm glad there's repentance because I don't know if I wouldn't have punched that chick in her face. You know what I mean? If y'all know me well or not, I wouldn't.
All right, so Dave Chappelle.
Right, seriously. But I was like, this is where we're getting freaking out of hand. And my whole thing is there are people who are watching that who will absolutely be like, I feel you. That is right. You are unsafe. You need to leave.
Yeah.
And this is where we are right now.
No,
and
absolutely.
So all that PC, it's beyond even PC anymore. It's don't hurt my feelings.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's this Colin. So when I look at all people, I had someone say, I'm taking the day off of work today. She goes, I'm taking a self-care day. Mm-hmm. I said, oh, what are you doing today? He said, oh, no, just kind of relaxing and whatever. I'm just stressed out at work. I said, oh, what are you doing today? Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm going to probably run some errands and some blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But what are you doing today to take care of yourself? And for her, it's just taking a mental break from the stress of work.
Yeah.
Technically, yes. That's self-care. You're moving away from the stressful environment. So I get that.
But in all actuality.
But what are you doing to care for yourself? Because just taking a break from the stress.
Not it.
Yeah, that's not it.
Yeah.
And so we're just throwing this term around. So I wanted to set the record straight on that today because there is the one element that I find is missing from self-love and self-care.
Okay.
And before I say that element, and I already said it already because it's in the title.
Sure.
But you can't... You can't operate in self-love and get drunk all the time.
Well,
listen to what I'm saying, right? Self-love, self-care, right?
Yeah.
You're not, and look, we're not talking about whether or not.
No, we're talking about health.
It's right or wrong, right?
I'm with you.
Bottom line, can we not grade ourselves? And can we just be like,
sure,
between the eyes?
We can, yes.
You can't operate in self-love and get drunk all the time. You can't operate in self-love and smoke all the time and do drugs all the time. That's not self-love. You can't operate in self-love and be an a-hole to people because you're sowing that to come right back on you later in the future. And this is the one that gets everybody. You can't operate in self-love and be non-medically overweight. And that part bothers people so much when I say that. And I was like, okay, what part about the fact, biologically, factually speaking, that your heart is working twice as hard as it needs to, chances are your arteries are narrower than they should be, that the bone stress is higher than it should be. What part of that is self-love? I'll hand you the mic. Please explain it to me. I'm not talking about that you proud of the body you in or whatever. Okay, you're proud of being in an unhealthy body. And I say non-medically because there are some things for medical conditions where it's almost really beyond your control. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the fact, and this is what's going to lead into the segue of the part of self-love that everyone wants to avoid, and that's the self-discipline. I firmly believe you can't have self-love without self-discipline. It starts with self-discipline. Why? Because, and this is the part that I left out, self-love is edifying yourself towards the best version of yourself in all things, physical, spiritual, and psychological. And this cannot be done without self-discipline. It starts there. Where do I need to love myself and create the best version of myself emotionally? Find out what that is. Now it's going to take self-discipline to engage and enact on that. What's the best version of myself where I'm the best part that I can be because I love myself psychologically? What needs to be done for that to happen? Self-discipline now puts that into action. Physically, same thing, self-discipline. So don't ever speak to me about self-love or self-care when I don't see it backed up with self-discipline. That's my issue.
So this is one of those moments where I find myself conflicted because even when talking about self-love and self-discipline, we've had the blanket statement that just about everything can be viewed subjectively. The way we open this episode obviously points out to being it has a subjective connotation based off of who's perceiving what's happening. Right. The lady in the interview with the gentleman who wanted to get up because she felt threatened. Right. The reason why I find myself conflicted because I 100% support anybody who has found it in themselves to take ownership of where they are and love themselves from that point.
Absolutely.
I 100% get what you're saying as well, but yours is from the point, you can't love yourself if you're not trying to be the healthiest you can be. That may not be everybody's standard. Because one, it's not mine. I'm not trying to be a triathlete.
But is that the purpose of it?
Well, not necessarily, but again, like when my football and baseball career ended, working out 3 times a day was no longer a priority. I'm not trying to be. I don't need to be in that level of shape anymore. That's being the pinnacle of shape.
That's being the best
I could
version
possibly
of yourself you can be.
That part of my life was over. It was never coming back. I need to be healthy enough to not die. That's my pinnacle now. That's it.
Right.
I run enough to be able to breathe. I work out enough to not die.
How about this? Would it be fair to say to not die before I quote unquote should? And when I say should, meaning no. The reason why I say should is taking out external consequences or whatever. In other words, I'm not going to do anything to promote my death. That's what I mean.
And see, even in those situations, I'm very, very careful about making definitive statements in that because there are scientific proofs. People who are still living, they ask these old women who were 102, how did you live to be 102?
George Burns, for example.
Exactly.
Right.
It was like, I drink a 6-pack a week and I smoke a cigarette a day. Like, and it's like, you're 102. But then you have the person who's eating the plant-based diet and their body shuts down and they die before.
This is why I'm bringing up this topic, because this is where self-love, the definition of it, has come to. We now start taking anomalies and all kinds of what ifs and thens, and we start using them as excuses as to why we do what we do.
But that's the thing. It's once you get so many of those things that happen, it's no longer anomalous.
But is it so many?
Yes.
Where it doesn't count as like
yes.
So it counts more as as the norm and not the exception.
But that's the thing.
Not the exception.
In the middle is the norm. You cut up a cadaver, the majority of cadavers that live to be beyond 80, 90 years old aren't in tip-top shape. They
and
got
let me
to
clarify.
something. So
when we talk about self-discipline and shooting for the best version of yourself and stuff, we're not talking about achieving perfection. This is a lifelong till you die journey that's not completed.
And that's my thing.
And I want to make sure people understand that. When no one's talking about being
that's why I tangented to that, because I know what you mean by it, but for conversational purposes, I always have to point out the fact that everyone's barometer, everyone's bar.
That's why we have the podcast, because we set that and we identify that and we clarify.
Yeah, but even then,
that's not to say everyone's going to subscribe to it.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's why we do what we do.
Even then, mine's different than yours.
Like the episode when we were drinking the post.
Meridium.
The post Meridium, right?
Surprisingly
delicious, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Literally, I'm not doing anything by drinking the post Meridium to promote my best self.
Okay.
I can accept that. And that's what it is.
Some people would disagree with that, though.
But how? But you should be able to prove that, though.
They scientifically can. I mean, that's why you hear people that say a glass of wine a day can actually be healthily beneficial to you.
But that's proven.
I know. 1 cup of alcohol a day may be good enough to cleanse some things.
But be clear, just because something doesn't hurt you doesn't mean it's benefiting you.
And that's my entire point. So the one thing with where we differ in this is that yours is always, I don't want to say always, majority of the time, tilted towards the side of it has to be beneficial to you. Where with me, I'm a net neutral kind of guy. My whole thing is whatever makes you happy and doesn't harm anyone, do that a lot. It just has to not harm anyone. It doesn't have to be good for everybody. Just don't screw with nobody. Okay. Don't intentionally hurt people. Don't intentionally hurt yourself. Right. Don't intentionally hurt me. Mine is net neutral. But yours the way you preposition
But that makes it sound so subjective and opinionated. And mine is, and I'm just like, can it be proven?
Yeah.
So for example, I'm gonna do this act, and it ain't gonna hurt nobody. It's just neutral. But then there's a question. Now that you did that act, are you any better for it? So no, I'm neither better nor worse. Then that's what it is.
Okay.
So when I say then focus on things that make you better, I'm not saying something has to be anything. It's not my opinion. There are things we do that are either bad, neutral, or better. That's just what it is. Like, I'm not making that rule up.
The truth of the matter of this is certain things that are good for you may actually
when
be
you get
bad
into the the good and stuff. If you're talking philosophical, I can't argue on that because good and bad is different from person to person.
I'm not even going to
get into science and biology.
I can get into science and biology. Certain things that are good for you, let's just say physiology. Certain things that may be good for your body may absolutely destroy mine.
That part is great. But let's go back to the example of, say, drinking alcohol, right? with the exception of the antioxidant properties and all the stuff of wine. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say there aren't other alcoholic things out there. There are things, right? But like, let's just use, and I don't want to keep using Post Meridian because that's my boy, and I really enjoy that drink.
No, we can do that.
And I want to promote this thing. But let's just use something like, Old English, OE 100, OE 800, right? Okay. Take a shot. Mm-hmm. Probably didn't send me to my grave. After I took that shot, is there anything in my body that improved is the question. Now, so far, now obviously science hasn't studied everybody on the planet, mm-hmm. but so far, given how we all still have a baseline similar makeup, science has shown that it might not have hurt you, but the chances are it did something bad. Like weed, for example, right? There are areas in people's life where weed is beneficial, especially when we're getting into the medical field.
Absolutely.
But the one part you can't deny it, whether you got Alzheimer's or not, is you lost a couple of brain cells there, buddy. Now, does it make you die? No. Does it make you worse? Well, if you have Alzheimer's, it actually made you better. Now, this is a case in point where it was better for you, mm-hmm. right? But at the same time, you did lose some benefits because you literally did kill off some brain cells.
That happens with everything.
So that's why you have to go like, okay, well, which one's the greater good for me? And that's when you get into the good and stuff. So now we're getting into stuff that's too deep. So I am trying to keep it on as much of a base level thing as I can. Okay. You have to generalize to a degree.
No, sure.
Right? And because there's 7 billion people in the world.
I've admitted that every single time we get into these.
Yeah.
But I just want to point out from my perspective. Again, I like to say my perspective.
Sure.
Because
it always is our perspective. It
always is ours.
Yeah.
When we're talking about doing what's best for you, I'm not going to sit here and say that what Stone is setting as the bar should be what you follow.
But it's not my bar. That's where I always have the problem.
But it is.
How?
Because it's enough people whose it's not their bar that it's yours.
But it's not mine. All right, maybe I'm misunderstanding.
Okay,
when you say my bar, it sounds like Stone created the definition for this bar.
It's the bar Stone subscribes to. Let's do it that way.
That's fair.
Is that better?
That's fair.
So the bar Stone subscribes to isn't necessarily the bar that's the best bar for everyone else to subscribe to. I get what, and I'm doing it this way to say that I understand the purpose of you saying it the way you're saying. Right. And you're setting that as your baseline for if you don't do this at minimum, then I can't accept that you're following yourself in self-love.
So name a benefit for someone, I'm not even talking about clinically obese because that's super strict, right? Mm-hmm. Name the benefit for someone being grossly obese.
Well, no. So this is the thing.
I'm only picking that one because that's the one that tricks. Everybody's triggered.
You do use weight as many examples, and I know, and I try not to do that because it's not applicable to everything.
No, but I
so
always
when we're having the weight conversation,
I set my parameters.
But again, if we set your parameters based off of
medically, I'm saying like non-medically.
I know. If we're talking about just the weight conversation, I can't make an argument for an obese thing. But if you start talking about somebody's mental health, their emotional
stuff. Explain to me why
you
can't make an argument for the obese thing.
Because I agree with you on that. The obese thing is not healthy, but it's not applicable to everything. But that's your go-to example when we get into these existential type conversations.
What would be applicable to everything, though? Is there anything that's
I'm just saying pick some other shit to talk about.
Well, but you know why? I also like to pick. I like to pick two. Usually I like to use examples that cover two things.
I know.
One, they're common. And two, there is more than an ample amount of self-control involved or stuff of it where it's in your ability to do something. Well, I'm going to say
this. For the sake of the podcast.
We could say drugs if we want.
For the sake of the podcast not getting boring as hell for us talking about the same one. Let's talk about some other examples, one. And then two.
Porn addiction. How about that? Since you like pornography so much. I hate that laugh I do. I keep trying to stop it because every time I hear, I'm like, like I'm dying. I'm
Mr. Ed Gas.
I was listening to a couple of podcasts. I was like, yeah, but something. And I'm like, yo, I have got to stop that.
It doesn't bother me, but I get why.
I hate it. I hate it so much. And I know someone listening has been like, I hate Stone's laugh. So just so you know, I feel you, man. I'm not grading myself on the curve. I love myself enough to improve my laugh.
I'm going to practice a new laugh.
Oh, my God.
All I'm saying is that one example, I'm not gonna try to argue with it because I agree with that. There are no benefits to your body, your BMI being above what the normal average should be.
My only point is it's hard to say you love yourself when
I get you saying that, but that's not always the case because again, we had this conversation with Liddell and Stevie when we were talking about people not being educated enough to even have that conversation with you. Someone who grew up not knowing what their BMI is, what their weight was, what their eating is doing to their body, they're doing enough of what they need to do to be healthy for themselves, and they feel good, they're enjoying their life. Ignorance is bliss is a true statement, and it's a real thing. So you can't tell somebody because they didn't know something. You don't love yourself because you don't have this knowledge of something. That's a bit of an arrogance that
not really.
I personally can't carry.
Because ignorance,
you saying not really is arrogant.
No, because ignorance may be bliss, but ignorance is not an excuse.
Yes, it is.
It really is not.
Stone.
Listen, and I learned this the hard way at a job of mine. My boss sat me down. I legitimately, my car broke down on the way to work. What the frick could I have done about that? So he came in and I said, "Oh, my car broke down." Blah, blah, blah. He says, "That's no excuse." Literally, I was just like, "Are you freaking out of here?" He said, "No, that's a reason, but it doesn't excuse." And he broke down the word excuse. He said, it doesn't excuse you for being late.
And see that
it took me the longest time to swallow that because I still didn't agree with him.
This is one of the antithesis of the whole loving yourself. And when I said the whole giving yourself space for the thing, that's one of those not giving your space for certain things. There absolutely are valid excuses for crap happening.
I agree with you, but I balanced what he was saying because in society, what we tend to do,
you conformed is what you did. That's not loving yourself.
No. I didn't conform to that. I still don't subscribe to that strictly. But what I did is I balanced it out because what we do in society, and we already kind of agreed, is that we take that and we run with it though. Now everything is a legitimate excuse. And then my whole point is, so what were we talking about when I said this excuse? You were just talking about it. Oh, you were saying that ignorance. And ignorance being bliss. They didn't know the education. Here's the thing. I didn't know either. And what I did, I started asking in the form of, I don't know. That's how I found Liddell. I was sitting in Cliffco. A guy was talking about a body scan that coming up for executives, super expensive, blah, blah, blah. I said, man, I need to do that because I don't know what's going on. I said, I keep working on this, working on that. I can't seem to lose this weight, and I don't know what to do. And I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to ask. But I verbalized it, though. I verbalized it to different people. And he was like, oh, you need to talk to that guy, Liddell. So then I talked to Liddell. He said, hey, what's going on, man? You know, I said, yeah, man, I don't know. I can't seem to get this weight. I don't know what I'm doing. And, Liddell, like, he just, class was in session. He just started breaking stuff down. But, bottom line, he got me on the path. Now I know more than I knew before. So, yeah, ignorance is bliss. But the reason why I say ignorant is not an excuse, I mean it as in ignorance doesn't excuse you. Because at the end of the day, what's the word? Unconscious incompetence. When you don't know what you don't know. So how do you even know what to ask?
That's what I point out all the time.
Then I say, I don't know what to ask, but this is my goal or this is my vision, and I'm not there. And then I leave myself open.
This is what I want to point out. In that, clarify this for me then.
Yeah.
In you saying it's not an excuse, what I'm trying to say is that if your barometer is saying I can't accept that you love yourself if you're not trying to be a healthy eater. That's in essence what you said.
If you're not trying to take better care of you.
That's what you said. Yes, that's what you said. So for me pointing out that some people might not know what's best for them to do, you can't label a person and say, I can't accept that you don't love yourself. You don't love yourself, but that person doesn't know. That's all I'm pointing out is that you're using the label of you can't possibly love yourself because you're not doing what I'm laying out for.
No.
That's what it sounds.
Okay, so
I'm
let me clarify.
pointing out what it. That's what I'm saying. Clarify
which
that.
I did in my example. I'm not blaming the fact that you don't know. That's what I just said. There is an unconscious incompetence. I'm blaming the fact that you're not seeking to know what you don't know. So, okay, I don't know a single person on this earth.
Even that's a catch-22 though.
Well, it can be, but like I said, if we want to try and find exceptions for everything, we'll be here until Jesus gets back. But my whole thing is, at the end of the day, I don't know a single person on this earth. Obviously, I don't know everyone on this earth, but we would be hard pressed to find one person who thinks being grossly obese or being addicted to drugs, whatever, is good. for you.
Are we making this just about drugs and obese conversation? Is that what we're doing?
I'm trying to expand it to use whatever it is that you want. But most people can relate to weight. Not everyone can relate to drug addiction. I can't. I can't relate to depression. I understand it, but I can't.
And as somebody who lives with it on a daily,
yeah, I can't relate to it. I
can't apply what you're trying to apply to obesity to depression because it's not applicable.
And now here's the deal. This is why I said what I said earlier. I believe there's medical depression, but then I believe there's depression.
And you can believe what you want, but you...
All right, let me ask you a question. Do you believe that there's medical depression and then there's depression because the environment that you insist to keep yourself in?
No,
is that false or not?
Stop. There are both, and I suffer from both.
That's all I'm saying.
But what I'm pointing out to you, as someone who doesn't... who you've admitted that you can't relate to it.
Right.
So you can't place a label on someone saying, I can't see you loving yourself because you're not trying to get out of depression. Let's say you make that statement.
Who's the football coach? All right, I don't have time to Google it and I won't bring it up. There's an NFL coach, right? Never played pro football, but he's a successful NFL coach.
Oh, it's a bunch of them. McVay's one of them.
I don't always, and this is where I can use it always, I don't always have to have firsthand knowledge of something to not be able to speak on it or talk about it. I can't speak on the medical depression part. I absolutely 100 cannot. I don't even know how to begin. So if I ever do talk about depression, which I don't, because I don't know enough, but if I do, I always differentiate the medical part. Now, on the part where it really is, you just have a wrong mindset. You are constantly in a wrong environment. But I can speak to that all day long because there are literally people out here walking around feeling trapped in depression that they absolutely can do something about. You already know where our passion is. Our passion is in accountability. The part of your life that you have accountable, that's always the part I'm speaking to. And so if you guys have never listened before and you're listening now, it's a great part. Whenever I say anything, it seems like I'm blanketing it. It seems like I'm talking about it. Just know I'm always speaking to the facet where it is in your control. That's the only part I can ever speak to.
And what I'm doing is touching the aspects that are beyond that point.
But why? Why even touch on that if we can't speak on it?
Because you cannot gloss over that stuff. Because again, and I'm going to show you this. Every football coach that has never played, that has been a decent or a good coach, I always throw that in the those who can't do teach bucket, which those are learnable skills that you can actually figure out what's good and come up with game plans and teach those things. When you start trying to apply things that are medically informed that you can't see, you can't learn, you can't tangibly put your hands on, that's a completely different realm that you can't apply the same exact.
So therefore, don't speak on it, right?
I'm not saying don't speak on it. I'm just saying don't label people on that. So
you said that 3 times so far, and each time you say that, I keep saying I'm not. So I don't know what part of that you're not getting.
But you do.
I sat right here and spent 30 seconds, did I not?
No, you did. But I'm
breaking down how I separate them on purpose. So I still don't understand why you keep saying I'm trying to label the whole thing.
No, but what I'm pointing out to you,
I'm trying to listen carefully because
this is one of those things that I think you're going to miss because you are Stone, and I'm talking about
because I'm trying to listen so carefully.
But this is one of those things that you do as a person.
Okay.
And I'm saying this is me as a homie. You do this.
Make it frank.
You will sit down and say, I'm breaking it down, I'm separating it while still placing the same exact label, because you will turn around in the next statement and say, you're still not loving yourself if you don't try to do this. And I've watched you do that. I've heard you do it. And I'm just sitting there like, how can you go back and forth and say you're not?
So let's
ask
you. Let's stay in depression, right? Let's say we have 2 people here.
Okay.
This person is literally clinically depressed, right?
All right.
Literally, their brain is firing just all kinds of ways. This person chooses to be, let's just say, in an abusive relationship. They choose to be in one, blah, blah, blah. And I say, if you're staying in a depressive state, I'm speaking to this person, right? You don't have to. You're not loving yourself, right? I'm speaking to the person who has control over the situation, which is what I do. But it sounds like when I do that, you're like, Stone, you can't say that. You can't say a person who's depressed is not loving themselves. And what I'm trying to tell you is I'm not saying that person
that's actually
depressed.
Not what I'm doing either.
Okay, that's what I'm interpreting. You guys are going to listen. You're going to see how we're going to work this out. This is probably good couples therapy too, but go ahead.
Wait a minute.
I mean, we ain't a couple, but you know what I'm saying.
It's one of those,
That's what I'm interpreting that you're interpreting.
And I understand the misinterpretation of the misinterpretation.
Right.
But again, like I said, I've watched you do certain things, and I've watched you respond to things with a blanket after saying I'm not blanketing.
But stick to today, because you said I did it today.
So I'm getting back to it today because we were using the obese thing. My whole reason for pointing that out was that I already admitted that I'm not going to argue with you on obese things. I agree with that. But the whole thing about saying, if I don't see you doing the statement you made was, if I don't see you doing what's best for yourself, I can't accept that you're loving yourself. That blanket
and who am I
statement.
Talking to?
And again, I don't know. But no. But and let me explain it to you. When you get that generalized, but then you slow down and pay attention. When you make a general statement like that, and we're talking to however many thousands of people we're talking to, and then you zone in on health and obesity, everyone's going to apply that and try to take that as your stance on everything.
You're doing what Tosh does. Everything you just said, all I heard was, I didn't hear you say, I'm not talking to this group of people.
No. I heard you say everything.
So, all right, so let's break it down. So when you said, I heard you make this group the exception to your statement, you're saying you heard me say that, right? Mm-hmm. So where I'm confused is, how can you say you heard me do that, make a clear exception to my statement, and then say, but then you generalize? I don't understand how they mix.
Because that's not the order of operations you did it. You generalize first, and then you zone in on a segment.
And then I clarified. Am I wrong?
Yes.
Then I don't know. I don't understand how this English language works.
Well, English language is one of the most difficult languages to comprehend anyway.
So you make a statement. So if a person makes a statement, and then they clarify, let me that's do this. Not how you.
So this is what I would say do. I would say take everything case by case instead of opening with the blanket statement.
Instead of opening
because if you open with a blanket statement, that blanket statement doesn't go away just because you decide to clarify.
Like when you in court and you be lying, he be like, strike that from the record.
I'm not trying to be rude, and then you know the person is about to be rude, whatever they say. Following.
That's a little different.
No, it's literally, but that I'm not trying to be. That's almost what that is. That setup in the beginning is literally saying I'm not going to do this.
So, but you said I let off with it, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't, because I read what I had, and this was the first thing that came in my mouth when it came to obesity.
Okay.
You can't operate in self-love and be non-medically overweight. That was my first statement.
That was the first thing you said when we got to obesity.
Sure, for sure.
When we were having the general conversation about what this was about to be about self-love, and then self-discipline. You were saying, I can't believe that. I can't believe you're being in self-love if you're not doing what's best for yourself. That's what you said. Okay. This is before we even got to obesity.
So let's stay on that. So
that's it. That's a blanket statement for all the stuff. So what does that mean to somebody? Like, how does somebody quantify?
So much noise.
It's okay. So, how does somebody quantify what being in self-love is? And that's when I jumped in and said, well, the barometer or bar for everyone is different than what Stone's is.
That statement,
then we got into
So when
obesity.
I make the statement to you guys, listen, and I ask you guys to respond all the time. Now you have to chime in on this. You have to.
I mean, you don't have to. Stone thinks you're required.
I need you.
I
need you to. How about I need you to, and we would really like you to. So I make the statement, I don't believe you're walking in self-love if you're not doing things that benefit or that are better for yourself. Mm-hmm. What part of that is a generalization?
That whole thing is
what I need to know. Now, and then there's this part, which I can, in some areas of communication is successful. Mm-hmm. Some area of communication, you should never do it. So I'll admit that, right? Is where I'm giving the benefit of the doubt that people of a certain, well, this will sound stuck up as heck. So.
Do it. Go ahead, embarrass yourself. Foot, mouth. Do it now.
I'll just say where I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to the listeners that they know what I'm saying.
That's that arrogance I was talking about. Y'all see?
Well, that's not arrogance on me. That's me giving them benefit of the doubt.
Elitism
how's that elite when I'm giving the benefit to them?
That's that elitism stuff. I know you did.
Yeah, because so when I say I don't believe you're walking in self-love, you're not doing the better for yourself. Although I'm still trying to
backhanded statement to say it that way though. It's
so if you're not doing those things, so let's reverse it.
Okay.
If you're not doing those things that are beneficial to you, then I have no, I don't want to say right because the right's not right, but so I can't tell if you're operating in self-love then. Is that the reverse of it?
I mean, I don't like the statement, period. I mean, my whole point comes down to...
Well, I'm not asking what you like.
I know, but I don't care if you don't like what I like. I don't like
you
it.
telling me. So I'm sitting there saying, how do I say that correctly?
I don't.
In your opinion,
and that's the thing. I would not say that.
You would
so
not.
I don't have a correct way to say that because I'm not going to try to apply something.
All right, so
in a scenario,
I walk in one day for whatever reason, life's going crazy for you, and I come in and I see you doing lines. Mm-hmm. What I shouldn't say is
no. Very specific situation. So address it,
Johnny. Doing lines is not good for you, man. What's going on in your life? Mm-hmm. I mean, come on, man. You got to love yourself better than this. Like this would be a very real conversation I would have with a friend of mine. I said, come on, man. You know, love yourself better than this, man. Doing lines is not good for you, man. Come on. What's going on? Now, not exact same words, but I just said you're not loving yourself by doing lines because that's not good for you. Mm-hmm. That's a generalization that I shouldn't say to you.
No. Again, very specific scenario that's happening. In those, and I see why this is so complex for you to wrap your head around because you are a very general blanket kind of guy.
But when you're speaking to a general audience and you can't, you literally physically can't address every specific scenario that's happening. It's literally impossible.
Then don't.
You have to speak in.
No, you don't. You don't.
Then
have
how do you talk to people? How do you talk to the masses? How do you communicate to the masses without using generalizations?
How do
I want to know how Johnny Vaughn does it.
I do it every freaking night.
How do you do it without speaking in generalizations?
I talk to one person. I pick a person to have a conversation with, and I talk to that person specifically. I address something specific, but I refrain from making a statement.
Which means you're excluding everyone that doesn't relate to that scenario.
Sure, but I also leave out your opening statement that could be construed as a blanket statement in any part of my conversation.
Johnny, we want you to come. We want you to speak at this event. There's going to be 5,000 people in the audience. We need you to, come in, just motivate them, encourage them. How do you do that without generalizations?
You'll never hear Johnny say, I don't believe you're in love or following the best of yourself if you're not doing anything that can be construed as what Johnny thinks is the best for each and every person. Right. I only speak to facts. And everything you're speaking to isn't always necessarily just facts. Now, again...
So rephrase this for Johnny.
Again, when you focus on obesity stuff, because that's your favorite example, your second favorite example.
We've established that 10 times now.
But I'm going to continue to point
Get that weight off of your
shoulders.
shoulders.
Because you are going to find a new example.
I want you to put this in Johnny talk.
Okay.
You can't operate yourself... You can't operate in self-love by smoking... cigarettes, or you can't operate in self-love by smoking crack all the time. Put that in Johnny speak.
That's directing crack. I mean, you're talking about crack, so that's...
But I said smoking. I literally said tobacco on this one.
But
so we can say tobacco.
That's applicable.
You can't operate in self-love by smoking tobacco all the time.
That's applicable. Let's get back to the statement that you made that I'm actually addressing.
I still can't see that statement because I gave us...
But you said it.
I gave us something specific on
when
every line.
When we hit stop, I'm going to play it for you. If you're not doing what's best for you, is what you said. Right, that generalization,
put that in Johnny speak.
That would never come out of my mouth. I wouldn't say anything like that.
So how would Johnny get that point across?
I would say it just like I just said it.
Which was what?
Find what's best for you.
Okay.
And I can't do that for you. I found that for me. And I'll give you examples of what I've done for me.
Why would I find what's best for me? Johnny.
Say, why would you find what's best for you?
Yeah, you said find what's best, because we're talking about self-love. That's our topic. Oh. You're like, find what's best for you. Well, why would I do that,
Why
Johnny?
would you do that? Because this is, and this is a conversation I have all the time. The one thing that humans, Stone being one of them, believes that everything has a purpose. And a lot of people feel they need a purpose. If you're asking me that question of why you would do it, then it means that you're searching for a purpose. Mm-hmm. So you find that thing, and that may become your purpose. That's what Johnny says.
Would I be loving myself if I did that?
I don't make that determination.
But I thought you were here to talk about self-love. So how do I love myself?
But again, like I said, Johnny never says anything about self-love.
But you're the authority they brought in. I had to buy this ticket. So I'm asking you because I don't know, because I'm lost right now. I'm lost. Like, how do I love myself?
I've already said it. You find what makes you happy and what works for you, and you do that thing a lot.
And that's how I love myself?
That is how you love yourself.
But what if I don't do those things?
That may be your choice to love yourself.
By not doing those things.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna say on record that's confusing as hell.
I know it is. When we hit the stop button, I'll explain to you why, because I don't want to go down that rabbit hole on this one.
All right,
it's a whole other train of thought that is omitted from this, but it's why I stay away from giving people reasons to do stuff, and then
if you believe
me setting the
that
rules
drinking 2 liters of soda every day, 3 Baby Ruths, and 5 Big Macs every day is not an example of you loving yourself, don't do it. But if you believe that that's loving yourself, I'm gonna leave the unsilent. Then do it. And the unsilent part is, even though it's proven that you're killing yourself, because that's not Stone's opinion. That's not Stone's opinion at all. If anyone follows that diet for real, in life. The Chad also, and the part that we missed on the Chad part, we never talk about, is how Chad said in it, because I found it a while. This is why when we first brought it up. One of the first things Chad said was, "I don't recommend this for everybody."
I say that all the time too.
Well, I'm just saying because he knows how bad it is.
Okay.
So my point is,
it makes him fulfilled, and he does it for him.
I get it.
So my thing is that your definition of self-love.
You're right. So you're right. So now we finally, as we always do, we're now getting to the point.
That's all I was trying to do.
So Stone's definition of self-love is, well, that's not Stone's definition. I find it confusing how someone can say they love themselves when they do things that have been proven to destroy themselves.
And I can accept
I
that.
find that confusing on how you can call that loving yourself. I will not place it as a law saying you can't love yourself if you're doing things that are self-destructive. Now, everything in me, and I'm sure a lot of people listening will be like, you're fighting the thing of like, well, that's just common sense. Well, according to what Johnny's saying to us, and I'm not being funny, according to, and there, because there's probably a ton of other people that think the same way Johnny does too. According to that thought, that's not necessarily true. You can love yourself and be self-destructive.
Absolutely. And that's the only point I'm trying to make. And you.
So we're going to go into a podcast of what love is, because that goes against.
We can do that.
I started to say the very definition of love, but then you're going to be like, well, who defined love? Well, because and that's the reason why that's such a slippery slope for a train of thought, because now we're getting back to.
And that's the point
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. And we're going to go back to our earlier podcast. Now we're getting back to, your own truth and your own definition, which lands us to where we are today.
Absolutely.
So, because you've never answered this question.
I'll answer right now. Ask it.
If that's where we go back to, with 7 billion people on this earth, everyone living their own truth and their own definition, where is cohesiveness?
We don't need cohesiveness.
Right. So every man's an island.
I started my interjection.
I'm asking.
Yes.
Every man is an island.
Yes.
Man doesn't need another man.
No.
Not men. Bro.
Oh, okay.
Humans don't need other humans.
Yeah, no.
And I'm phrasing it in a yes or no question.
Are necessary. Yes.
But how can relationships be cohesive if don't give me no chance stuff. Like, well, chances are, I'm just saying, like, chances are you'll come across somebody who kind of lines up. No, because we don't know that for a fact.
You absolutely will.
We're not playing the law of probability here.
Statistics are
with
real thing.
7 billion people in the world. Even if statistics are a thing, how do you have a cohesive society?
You have one.
How?
It's happening.
How?
So this is the thing.
No, you can't see. No. We're not letting that about. It's not happening because.
No, it is.
Because the more popular train of thought, not 100%, not always, not everyone. More popular train of thought is there is some kind of baseline standard rule law. You will be hard pressed to go out there and find more people that don't believe it than not.
I bet you will.
I put you on that assignment.
I'll do it.
I will literally. Matter of fact, I'm going on record right now. I will pay you $250
social media right now and do
to find what.
Exactly what you just said. People who have the opposing train of thought than you have on that topic.
I didn't just say that. There you go. Minimizing what I say again. I'm specific. I said majority. Specific. You're going to go out there and find people that train of thought.
You're not going to find a majority.
I said majority.
You're not going to find that.
I won't.
No.
Okay.
You're not going to. It doesn't exist. We can do that.
So there is not a majority of people in society who believe that there is some type of baseline standard rule of thumb.
Absolutely not. Because what you're going to run into is people that are going to say yes, and then you're going to say, okay, what's the baseline? And then the baselines are not going to be the same baseline. They're going to be completely different baselines.
Right. Again.
So what I'm pointing out to you,
you're saying everyone's going to be that way.
Yes. So what you're saying is you're going to be able to find people that are going to just agree that this is the baseline.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
You're not.
You're going to find people that are going to say this part is, but this part is not. And none of it is going to line up from individual to individual. And the only thing I was pointing out for this whole thing before we even tried to get to the discipline,
I don't even know this is
aspect of
making sense to you guys at this point, but go ahead.
Hey, stop cutting into the conversation with doing silly crap like that.
He was literally upset.
No, I'm not. I set it up by saying I'm conflicted with this because one, I understand both. I completely get why you think and feel that way, but I also understand the concept that no, everybody's not going to have that exact same baseline, and the cohesion you're looking for isn't going to be able to be predicated off of the rules that you see as being some formal definition of what the starting point is.
This is what we need.
The fluidity is what creates the cohesion.
This is what we need. I'm really requesting this from you guys. Like, we really need it. If you believe you can love yourself and be self-destructive, I need you to chime in and say, yes, Stone, I believe that. I agree with Johnny.
No, Osborne loves himself to death. Eddie Griffin said, I want to bleed. Well, I ain't going to say what Eddie Griffin said, but he said he wanted to leave out this burning wheels, looking messed up because he lived to Eddie Griffin. Yeah. It's you have your train of thought is it is a popular one, but it is not the only one, and it is not the most popular one. There are many people and more in a lot of cases that feel like living anything to how I feel is the greatest for right now, and doing what I want to do right now in this moment will look destructive to you. Maybe scientifically destructive, but it's fulfilling to them, and they are going to do that until the end.
We're not talking about in this moment because now you're adding real specific parameters because everyone can do anything any moment.
Absolutely.
Right? We just drank. That's a moment. So for that moment, am I loving myself? I'm not talking about that. We're talking about standard practice, how you live your life, your lifestyle.
And it's going to be
And you believe that there are people who love themselves enough to destroy themselves.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Most of the stuff that we do here in the Western world is destructive, and we enjoy it, and it's fulfilling, and we love ourselves.
And that doesn't go against the very natural law of survival to you?
No.
It doesn't?
No.
Okay.
You can buy into the whole self-preservation being the ultimate pinnacle of everything, and that's not the case. Yeah, no, you can't bite through your hand if you attempt to, but breathing...
So you can't?
No. If your brain is truly triggered to self-protect, you will not be able to bite through your hand. Your brain won't allow you to do it.
What's his name? So he didn't bite. He cut it off, didn't he?
Who's that?
The Jewish prisoner, Frankel. Frankel.
That and
I thought he bit it through.
Extreme circumstances.
No. We're not again. See,
but no.
Now, when you say stuff, we can have blanket, and then you can make exceptions for extreme circumstances. But when I say it, it's always a blanket statement.
No. Everything has an extreme circumstance.
Which I've been saying the entire podcast.
There's
an exception for everything.
But in doing that, I'm not making a statement that is a blanketed statement of saying this can never happen or this shouldn't happen because of. I leave room to allow. No, I did not.
You didn't say you can't. You said the brain will not allow you. You said you cannot do that. You said your brain won't allow you to do that.
I said if your brain is wired to that self-preservation mechanism.
You did what I did.
That is literally what I did.
You said that afterwards. You clarified.
No, I said it at the beginning.
We're going to rewind.
Can
you mark the time?
Mark the time. I know where it's at. Before I said that, I said if your brain is wired for that self-preservation, you will not be able to do that.
I'll give you $5 if you said that.
And then you said, but then the guy bite through his finger.
All of that, you're right.
I'm telling you.
Before all that.
Right.
Said, okay.
The first thing I said was that.
Okay. I'm cool with that. You're right, Stone. I'm cool.
About
I'm not going to throw it in your face.
making blanket statements that make me the authority on somebody else's.
All right. So I just need you guys to chime in on that.
Please chime in for Stone. All I want to say is that in order to get to a point to where you can be disciplined enough to take care of yourself, you have to figure out what that individual thing is that equates love for yourself. Because what it is for me isn't going to be the same thing for you.
Yeah, and if you're like Johnny, honestly, really half of this stuff on here doesn't apply to you.
It doesn't.
Quite frankly. So you can go ahead and be selfish and be full of self-gratification. You can avoid sacrifices. You can coddle yourself, grade yourself on a curve. You can go ahead and not be too hard on yourself. And you can be lazy and don't push yourself.
Our former president,
and you will love yourself.
Our former president ticks every single box that you just jokingly
He did, but you're assuming but you're also assuming he loves himself.
He tells you that, so I have to go based on what he says.
All right, I'll say so.
Can I not go based on what he says?
Because now that's a new cross. So you just clarified a new crossroad because I don't define being egotistical or narcissistic as loving yourself. Because you can walk around all day and think I'm the greatest, I'm the best. Kanye
loves himself.
If I'm not mistaken, and I'll rewatch the video, and if it wasn't in the video, it was something else. He had a moment And he literally said, he said, I don't know what I'm doing. And he literally said, I'm just not happy. I'm just not happy. He
or
just
not being happy and not loving yourself.
And it's one of the things where you got to have some kind of maturity and discernment about yourself. When he said it, he wasn't just talking about the circumstances. Like, he wasn't happy. Himself, life, and everything. And if you watch it yourself, you have the wisdom to discern it too. You know when someone's talking that stuff.
I don't do that.
Okay, well, whether you do it or not.
I take
that's
what
great.
you say.
I'm like, we know that Johnny's a separate cyborg.
Johnny is different, yeah.
But my point is, even he had a moment.
Okay.
You know, more I'm saying. So yeah, accepting yourself and having ego about it to me is not the same as
this is you branding the label of what self-love is.
But I keep saying to me, is how come you can say in my opinion, but then when I say to me, for some reason that don't count? Because I say to me all the freaking time. I'm like, well, to me,
okay,
well I think my thought, which means it's coming from Stone.
You're 100% right. So let me address that now so that it makes sense on where I'm coming from when we do it. When Johnny does it and I say it's from me, I'm literally leaving it open for you to take it how you want to. When you say it, it comes off.
I say it with authority.
Yeah. No, it's not with authority. Mine's with authority too. But
I know what you mean.
Yours is definitely in a way.
Billy Carson does it. Billy Carson.
But mine is the way it should be.
Billy Carson does it all the time, and he's on this whole thing about Jesus, whatever. And he was like, when he's praying to Jesus, you're praying to Zeus. That's really what you're praying to. I hope you know that. You're praying to Zeus. So really your prayers aren't doing anything. Very just fact, that's what it is.
That is true.
You know what I'm saying? Well, no, it's not true because there's two different etymologies
well, no,
of the
I'm saying
name.
what he does is true.
Yeah, you're right. And he takes
what...
that one etymology down this way. I say, yeah, but the Jewish etymology is Yeshua, and it means what it says.
There's a lot of you in that.
There's a whole lot. Yeah, so I see what you're saying.
There's a lot of you
I see what you're saying, but that's why. But I know what that is. And the thing is, when Tasha's a big fan of his, and I was like, I said, yeah, but he's not. She goes, that's what it is. I said, no. I mean, he's saying it with authority, but you still have to listen to what he's saying. How you say something is important.
Sure.
But you also then have to have a discernment to listen to what he's saying and separate it, because what he's saying, he's only giving you 50% of the story.
Well, Stone doesn't believe you can love yourself if you don't do it Stone's way. I feel like you can.
And I think I phrased it better, and that is, it's confusing to me.
That was your correction. And yes,
I said that. That's why I said it better. Yeah, so fine. I'll title it. My correction.
Yes, your correction
was I find it confusing how you can self-destruct and love yourself.
And I think it's palatable to accept that it's confusing.
Because it really does put up the entire definition of love itself. Yeah. It puts that entire definition in question.
I would posit this. I'm not going to say posit it. I would ask this question. I would say, how can anyone in the entertainment industry love themselves?
Okay.
We've worked in entertainment, and it is one of the most detrimental businesses to self.
It can be,
out there. It is. Like it is.
Well, it can be, right?
It is.
But no, just how I'll say stuff to you that probably would tear someone else to shreds.
Sure.
Bounce right off of you.
Well, I mean,
what I said was mean, but Johnny was like,
Yeah.
So the industry can, because it hasn't been detrimental to me.
Again, Johnny knows who Johnny is. Stone knows who Stone is. But the business itself chews people up and spits them out.
It can, yes.
You've been want to accept baselines? That is a baseline.
But the thing is, it hasn't chewed me up.
Does it chew up more people than it
hasn't chewed up Tasha?
Does it chew up more people than it doesn't?
I'm not even being argumentative. I can't answer that.
But this is the point I'm making.
The reason why I can't answer that, because I actually don't hang around a lot of those people. People in my circle, it hasn't.
Another point of mine that I'm trying to make.
Which I've admitted. How many times do I say, I don't know everybody?
I know, but your silo, your echo chamber, your personal echo chamber keeps you away from actually being able to empathize and sympathize with people who aren't in your echo chamber. There are experiences that change those bar levels.
And
you don't have them.
And here's the thing, but this is what I realize. Be careful when you say what I don't have, because one, I do acknowledge them, which means there has to be something that acknowledges it, and I admit if I don't know.
Acknowledging them and having the experience.
And then two, there are two echo chambers. There's the one you keep loving, try to remind me that I'm in, but then there's the one of that person that truly believes that I love myself even though I'm self-destructive. Why are they not in an echo chamber?
No, they are.
Right, and my point is what makes that right or wrong?
What makes
and I'm not
what makes yours right or wrong?
The thing is, it doesn't. But what happens is I can accept that part, but there are people that are stuck in that echo chamber that don't know how to accept this other side. And I've met that with the kid. Matter of fact, when I shared the whole formula for success thing, I was downstairs. They had a whole group of kids there that were not scheduled to be here, and so I ended up sitting them in the conference room because we ain't know what else to do. And I said, well, I'm gonna talk to y'all. And I broke down the whole success thing. The guy literally said to me, he said, I didn't know I could just be successful on purpose. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it sounds like one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, but I'm talking to a kid and I don't know what his background is. I don't know how sheltered. I was like, of course you can. I said, do you believe you can work hard and be successful? I mean, I know that. I said, well, that's on purpose, is it not? He said, yeah, but you kind of like gave these steps, like, you literally kind of mapped it out is what he was trying to say. And I was like, no, they're really, I said, if you go to Gary Vee, to Tony Robbins, Elon Musk, they're all going to have similar things in their journey that you can follow and duplicate as well. Anyway, it changed his life is my whole point. But he was in this, I don't know if it's the right term for it, but he was in this echo chamber until he saw otherwise. Mm-hmm. And that's all I'm saying. There may be someone out there who's stuck and truly believes they're loving themselves. I'm going to say it, by being overweight, by being addicted to something, by staying in an abusive relationship. They truly they're believing that, no, I feel good about myself, even though I'm keeping myself in this self-destructive mode. Until Stone came along and said, I find it highly confusing how you can destroy yourself and love yourself at the same time. Well, why do you say that, Stone? Because boom, 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 boom. Now they're seeing a side they didn't see before. They're like, holy wow. And if you ever want to know, those are the people who I'm talking to.
That's cool. I do see Stone, my friend, as the white folk bringing Christianity to I do.
First of all, knowing what I know of Christianity right now, I'm offended by that.
As you should be.
I'm offended.
That's a very intentional statement.
I'm offended by that.
There are some similarities.
But you got to remember, you admitted it yourself.
No.
That you don't drink hopium.
I don't.
And so therefore, you don't relate to anyone that brings hope to someone. So to be honest with you, you're not judging me, but you're making your statements on me in your own echo chamber.
No, you're absolutely right.
You know what I'm saying?
But this is the thing. I could be wrong about this, but I just like you feel like you're right. I feel I'm righter on this one than your side is. Mm-hmm. My particular echo chamber on this stance of leaving room for everyone to just love themselves how they want to is more accepting than yours being more conformative. And you can't possibly be doing this if you aren't doing it this way at minimum. And I think I think that method is more destructive than
what's being accepted got to do with anything? We matter too much about what's accepted.
Your thing is always black and white. Everything has to be this or that. There's a gray area that you omit in the majority of your opinions. Do you not feel
we put too much weight on being accepted?
No.
You don't feel we do?
Not if that's what someone's self-love is. I leave room for that.
I mean, yeah,
does Johnny personally care about? No, I don't.
Right,
it doesn't matter to me. However, I'm cognizant that exists, so I leave room for that, and I will never diminish the fact that there are those who need that.
You know what I believe when I speak?
So I leave it, which is why I said I'm conflicted in the beginning.
Let me help you with your conflicts. That way you don't have to worry about whether or not I'm doing echo chamber thing.
Fix me, white man, bringing me Christianity.
When I speak, I know that there's a pair of ears that I'm speaking to.
Yeah,
I know that.
Okay.
If what I'm saying is not for you, you know it's not for you. At least I believe you know it's not for you.
And I'm cool with that.
Move on.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Move on.
I just can't.
Because what Stone firmly does believe.
I'm sitting next to you for the hour we're doing an episode. I know, so I can't move on.
I get it, but that's you sitting here.
I got to do this.
Yeah, you have to do it. Me, I'm seeing the entire world listening to us in every country. You know what I mean? And my whole thing is, there's someone who needed to hear what I said. There's someone who needed to hear what you said.
And that's exactly why
those are the only people I'm talking to.
That's it. That's the absolute reason why I interjected it.
So when you say general, it's general, but it's still general in a class.
Which is why I'm allowing you to be general.
You're allowing me?
And then
you're giving me permission?
I'm giving you permission to be general.
Oh, God.
And then I'm opening it.
Oh, Tech 1 or what you call it? E1 or whatever it's called. Just so you don't have to think that I'm literally out there trying to speak and then save the world. Not at all.
It does come off like that sometimes. I'll be honest with you.
Because the ones that I am speaking to, there's still a mass of them.
There's a mass of the other ones too.
There are, and I'm not speaking to them.
And
that's all it is. But I don't want to have to say that every single time I open my mouth. But guess what?
Which is why
there's some of y'all I'm not speaking to right now. So if it's not for you, go on and just change the channel.
It's absolutely why we do this, because there are 10,000 ways to skin that cat, and Stone's way isn't the only way. My way is not the only way. There are arbitrary ways that live between our two methods and outside of our two methods that neither one of us are going to address, that somebody else is going to subscribe to.
So we don't have to worry about defining how we say things.
No, I just want to make sure that if you believe you're loving yourself and what you're doing is beneficial to you, even if science says it's detrimental, and if Stone thinks it's bad for you, but it's making you happy and you're living how you're living, I fully believe that that's what that bar should be set at.
Yeah, and so I want comments on that, just so we can, because Jony is very, very positive that that close to the majority, and correct me if I'm wrong, line up with what he's saying. I think the majority don't. So we want to know. We want to hear from you. I'm going to promote that clip so we can push it, so we can get people. And this isn't a right or wrong thing, because there is no right or wrong.
There is no right.
Yeah, there is no right or wrong. But there's a curiosity on knowing what y'all think. So that's
now, the one thing we 100% agree on is how to be disciplined in doing those things to continue to love yourself. Once you get to that point, I don't think there's any
so use discipline in self-destruction.
Yeah.
Because discipline works on the good and the bad.
Yeah, just do, you know what?
You're going to cut your throat, be disciplined about it. Follow through.
I allow
Make sure you delete that. I don't even want to say that in the joke.
It's staying. It's there.
All right, well, delete that from the record of your mind.
Shouldn't have said it. You put it out there. No, it's...
Seriously, for that person thinking about that,
nowhere
in
there am I saying be detrimental to yourself. I always say that, even when it comes to the soul.
No, you're like, if that's how you love yourself, do it.
But and that's the difference in how we look at it, is that you feel that you have to not do anything that's bad to yourself. But I take it from the perspective of this life is very, very difficult. It's stressful. Life sucks for a lot of people. And it's difficult to find things that make you happy, that make you feel like you're loving yourself. And when you find those things, no, it may not be the best thing that Stone thinks it is, but do it a lot.
But that's the and that's the other. You pointed out another part where we diverge in the Yellow Wood is you focus a lot on happiness.
Yeah.
I focus a lot on joy, and we've explained that before.
Yeah, we talked about the differences.
We've explained that before, and that will always have us wearing two different shades of glasses. And I think if we know that, we won't be so shocked. Not that we're shocked, but we won't be so, well, why are you saying? You always say, well, there's a reason. You know why. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's to you, that's what it is. And to me, it's deeper than that. And so
and mine stops at a certain point. And I mean, again, we can put it in the semantics box if you want to. I understand the depth of that, and then the whole. I even agree with it when you broke down the whole joy, happiness. I'm like, you know what? I can wrap my head around that. But for me, existence is. I mean, we've talked about the whole nihilism thing and how I view existence in general. We won't go down that path right now. But because of that, in each moment, finding those moments of happiness, or what someone would call joy if they use them interchangeably, I think is the most important thing in this short blip of existence. And whatever that thing isn't going to match up with what somebody else says it should be for you. Because if I tried to do I'm not going to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning no more every day. I'm not finna eat the diet that Liddell recommends. That ain't going to make me happy. I don't like how it tastes. I like enjoying what my stuff tastes like. So I'm going to eat what tastes good and enjoy it.
So I have to ask, how much leeway do you give Micah with that thought process?
A lot.
Because as a kid, that's all they're concerned with.
And we've had that talk too. Like
because my question is, if that's the thought process, why discipline him in anything?
Okay, so this is actually a different conversation to have, because this comes from interjecting and implanting your parental dogma on your offspring.
No, I'm not. I'm asking for Johnny's.
I'm doing a generalization when I say your parents. When I say your. I have a certain belief system. So yes, my son has a lot more leeway to make more mistakes than most children do. because the things that some kids will get punished for or beat for or grounded for, I don't see reason for it.
I get that, but if what he's doing makes him happy, and if whether it leads to self-destruction or not, why stop or discipline him or whatever it is?
This is the cool thing about kids. There are very few things aside from eating sweets that kids will do that are self-destructive. They discover those self-destructive things later. Am I going to let them stick a fork in a socket? No, because you can die.
I'm not being funny.
No, I'm not being funny either.
Why? If he's happy trying things
again,
out.
you make these.
Am I making it black and white or something?
Yeah, you're making these.
Help me understand.
That's absurd.
No, because what I thought was absurd. No, you thought it was absurd. That I thought it was absurd.
But again, so let me join you now in saying that there's a bar that committing suicide for a child is absurd.
Why for a child and not an adult or a teen?
Because at a point when your cognizance gets to a point where you truly understand what your existence is, you can make those choices for yourself. Most little people cannot do that yet. If you accidentally kill yourself as a child, that's your guardian's fault. You don't understand that if I put this thing in there, it's going to kill me. And actually, I'm not going to say nobody. Some people who commit suicide, they are doing it for their own personal happiness. The existence of being here is too much for certain people. It's fucking too much for me sometimes.
No, I get it. And that's
I'm not going to jump off the bridge.
That's really where the difference between happiness and joy comes into play. But go ahead.
And again,
go ahead. Yeah.
I understand your definition. Don't make that.
All right, so come 16. You're cool with Micah being self-destructive.
There are certain things that I will allow him to learn by himself.
By then, Micah knows drugs are bad. By then, he knows he is. So if he decides he wants to go ahead and do meth because he loves how it makes him feel and he gets to get the party hard and the one chick he always liked to be with, she does meth. He just makes him happy. So there's no don't do meth, Micah.
I'm going to push this into your absurd box again because this is one of those things where rules that are in place, I do follow them. Until he's an adult, he cannot make those types of decisions to murder himself on my watch. Am I going to stop him once he's no longer in my charge? His life becomes his wholeheartedly at that point.
All right, so now not your son, now a friend, close friend.
I've actually had that happen, and that friend died, and that was not.
But I mean, were you like, don't do that? Or were you like, hey, if it makes you happy?
Yes, I did, and they did not want to be here anymore.
You did what?
Nothing. I tried to stop.
But
that
why?
scenario.
You see what I'm getting at? I'm trying to figure out where are the lines for Johnny.
So let me explain to you why I tried to stop it. Because in that moment, that's my friend. I want you here.
So it had nothing to do with him.
No. We do these things selfishly. Everything we do is selfishly. And that's the thing I'm trying to get you to stop doing.
You do
is to stop making these bars based off of what you
do
think
because
is the
honestly, if I saw you doing that, I almost said niggas.
You just said it.
I sure did. Well, please understand this and please know this. And this isn't just for Johnny. If I saw you doing that, it has nothing to frick to do with me.
Okay.
It doesn't. It's not because I want you here. That is so freaking secondary to me. It's not even funny.
And that's a noble take.
You know, call it what you want. That's what it is.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? So I couldn't sit here and watch you do that and be like, well, you know what? You said it makes you happy, dog.
This is where our divergence comes because of how we both view existence.
So I need not have you around if I'm doing anything self-destructive.
No, I don't.
Oh, my bad, because you actually might want me around.
No, I want you around.
All right,
but I also,
so Johnny wants me here. I'm good.
And this is the other thing. This is the other thing too. I approach my friends from their baseline of thinking and their emotions. I know how you feel about this stuff. So no, I would stop you from doing it for you because I know this isn't Stone.
Okay,
and again, I know it's new.
You have a lot of subtitles.
It's way more nuanced than just.
But
saying,
I'm wondering that's
you
Johnny's
can't love
life.
yourself if you're not doing it. It's way more nuanced than that, which is why I say
in your life, yeah,
don't blanket
in your life for sure,
and leave it open.
In your life for sure,
and more lives than you know, man.
I know, and I don't disagree with that. And all I have to say with that is, I believe by my own thoughts, in my own opinion, that it's heavily unnecessarily complicated.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's cool. Like for me, I'm like, wow, that's why make things complicated. And you're like, hey, it's what makes me happy.
Because it is.
Yeah, and that's where yeah.
So the thing that I think most people struggle with is that you have a very, and I admire it. I don't even know how to place it or how to put it, but you have an ability to look at things so simplified, to where it does negate things on the surface level that would create a nuance that would force.
Yeah, I know you like to
conversation.
think that I gloss over and I ignore.
I'm not
things.
saying you gloss over. No. I'm not
Or
saying.
ignore
I don't
them.
want to say you gloss over. I
negate is
do
to
think
ignore.
you do. I do think you
I
ignore
absolutely
some stuff.
don't.
I do think you
absolutely
ignore
don't.
some stuff. But I admire your ability to see things that way. I just see them. I see through things a little differently than that.
Yeah, because I don't trust me. I see everything that's in the jar.
I'm not saying you don't.
Right. My thing is, but I get to pick what I want out of the jar.
Exactly. You get to pick, and so does everybody else.
Right. Exactly.
Everybody
So,
else picks
and
that
if I don't like black jelly beans, guess what? I'm not going to pick black jelly. If black jelly beans make me sick, I'm not going to pick the black jelly beans.
But don't tell anybody, hey man.
I don't, because black jelly beans, they might not make you sick.
Black jelly beans make
they
me
might
sick,
not make
and
you
I
sick.
can't think you loving yourself
They
if you
might
put
not
them
make
in
you
your because
sick.
they make me sick. They might.
But I tell you what, if you know,
that's all I'm saying.
Here's a great real world case, right?
Okay.
Let's say quite literally, someone said, "I have 2 jars. One jar was coughed on by somebody with COVID. You already know how I feel about COVID, but." From what COVID was manufactured to be, or whatever you want to call it. One jar was coughed on and sneezed on by people with COVID.
Okay.
We won't make it that disgusting. One jar was breathed on and touched by people with COVID. It doesn't matter. Another jar was breathed on and had to be touched by people who were proven they're perfectly healthy.
Okay.
All right. 2 jars, and this would never happen, obviously, in life. So, super scenario. Person's coming up, said, "Oh, candy." Stone's going to be like, don't eat out of that jar. Why? Because people who already tested positive for COVID and all this kind of stuff, they breathed and touched all on it, eat out of that jar. That's what I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. From what I'm understanding, Johnny's going to be like,
no,
grab some candy.
No. And whatever that scenario was you just concocted is completely not applicable to anything we've been talking about. And no, Jonathan would not do anything like that. So
that's
no.
Yeah. I don't understand why. If their decision makes them happy.
I've pointed this out before too. That so you're saying that somebody eating COVID would make them happy? Like
COVID is representation. And this I would think I wouldn't have to explain to you. COVID is representative of anything destructive.
Sometimes examples are bad.
Sometimes they are, but COVID, almost everyone in the mama,
sometimes
whether you believe in what happened in life, can relate to COVID being bad. Okay. To me, that's breaking it down to a freaking 2nd grade level. COVID represents bad. Period. End of story. No deeper than that.
This is
all I'm saying, and everyone knows what COVID is, so I don't have to explain anything.
This is definitely one of those things that I've pointed out before that you do to support your points when you create these ridiculous, absurd
ridiculously
scenarios.
simple. That's it. It's ridiculously simple.
Like I just said, you oversimplify things to the point to where it eliminates the nuance of reality, and, honestly, you have to stop doing that.
That's actually only a problem with smart people. It's only a problem with smart people.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, and I'm dead serious.
I appreciate it.
It really is. Like, to your regular person, they would get what I'm saying. They were like,
oh, no, I get what you're saying.
They would be like, that would never happen, but I know what you mean.
I get what you're saying.
But it's so dumb. You're like, really?
Yeah.
But that literally really kind of only happens with smart people. Seriously.
I'm not pushing a COVID jar
and
to
I'm not
anybody.
calling y'all dumb.
Yes,
this is the conversation.
Exactly
so anyway, my whole point is,
I'm not giving somebody a COVID jar.
What I'm trying to find here is, it just seems like your bar changes a lot.
My bar is fluid, yes.
Yeah.
Because I am fluid.
Yeah, it seems like it changes a lot.
And I've been fully transparent about that. My bar is fluid because life is fluid. I don't have these set points in things. What was law 10 years ago is not law now.
No, I get that, but you seem a little more fluid than that.
I can be, sure.
Yeah. And being fluid and someone not being fluid like that is not the same as someone not being able to adjust. Because there's a difference.
No. There definitely is a difference.
It just seems like you know what?
Let me simplify.
And this might be oversimplified. It just seems like, can I say seems? Which means I'm not stating as a fact.
Say next.
It just seems like you have a different code of operation to live by for every scenario.
Sure.
Like there kind of isn't you run and chuck the ball when you hit the hole. So this is like, sometimes I hold with 2 fingers. Sometimes I throw it over the hole.
I'm glad you said it, and I'm gonna make a call back to an episode since you do it so much. I'm gonna do it now.
Yeah, I'm trying to get people to go back and listen.
Because this is one of the things that
Mine is strictly marketing.
I always feel like that you don't necessarily live up to it as much. as you possibly could. But we did an episode called Be Malleable, and we did this whole premise about being like fluid. If you want to be able to exist in multiple scenarios, you have to be malleable and fluid like water. I literally live my life that way. Every room is not the same room. I can't talk to you like I talk to friends back home. I'll get shot. That can't happen.
Yeah, but but the way you're describing what I'm saying is being malleable also means being compromising.
It's not compromising.
Because, like, for example, I can know what? I can operate in a church or a school or a strip club.
I bet you I could function more fluidly than you could.
I can operate in all of those.
Because
But there is a baseline for me.
Sure.
That wouldn't change. And I would operate successfully.
And my baseline doesn't change either. It's just that my baseline...
You have a baseline. You have a baseline for the church. You have a baseline for the school. You have a baseline for the strip club.
And what I'm trying to point out to you...
I'm not saying right or wrong.
No, and what I'm trying to point out to you is that me being able to have adjustable baselines is my baseline. Me being able to adapt to what I need to be for who that person needs me to be, that is my baseline.
I get
the
it.
rigidity that the majority of humans live in now because of whatever dogma you have that requires you to feel ownership of your thought process and to feel like that is what law should be, I have a difficult time accepting those baselines.
And that's cool. Like, as simple as possible is I've gotten to the point now where I think you can agree where I rarely, if ever, cuss.
Yeah.
Right?
I love it when you do, though. But yeah.
I know. And the reason why you do is because I rarely do.
Yeah.
That's why you love it when I do.
It is a bit of a...
Now, I can be around, and I am around about a ton of people who cuss.
Yeah.
I don't need to cuss to be malleable to that situation, is my point.
No,
and I'm not saying, and I shouldn't use the word need.
Well, Will Smith ain't got a cuss in his rap to sell records, but I do, so
I don't
you
cuss to be... because I'm malleable and I can adjust. I can adjust to that situation without cussing.
Sure.
I'm not saying you need to, but to you, it's probably no thing to cuss.
Nah.
You know what I mean? Because and then if you're in a scenario where you probably shouldn't, it's no thing for you to not to cuss, and it's fine. So for you, I have no baseline where cussing is concerned, which is that's what I say changing baselines. It's not changing baseline from scenario to scenario. It's changing baseline for every little rule that Johnny follows and doesn't follow. So it's a lot more detailed than just baseline for scenarios. Yeah. It's baseline for the guidelines and the rules. I have some guidelines and rules that I do my best not to shake, and it's for my life.
And
it's for my life
because that's what you've set to what it means to love you.
Exactly.
And I have been as respectful as I can in all of those scenarios, and it changes from person to person.
That part I agree with. Yeah.
And that's all I'm pointing.
And that's
out.
what I'm saying. That's why it was hard for me to follow a lot of this stuff, because it just seems like you're
so
fluid. Let's put it this way: it seems like you're so fluid that there is no baseline.
Yeah, no. There's a
you know what I mean?
baseline.
So that's what I'm saying. The appearance, and just when I hear you talk,
To go back to the
right when the
topic-
person thinks they got your baseline, then I was like, oh no, apparently that's not it.
Well, because it's a different scenario.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
I would have been able to tolerate the non-binary individual more than the person who was interviewing them, and more than you in that scenario for what they were saying or what they were saying. Oh, Stone. Let's just be honest. Your tolerance for non-binary people. You actually even admitted it. You said I could have punched her in the face. You said that.
Why did I say I could have punched her? See, because now you're painting wrong pictures.
No,
if someone were to walk away right now, it sounds like I would have punched her in the face for being non-binary. Am I wrong or right?
No, you should be.
Let's be clear. Don't do that. Do not do that.
It was funny. You said you could have punched her in the face because of the back and forth and them not being able to admit something that you said was clearly obvious. That's what you said.
Okay, no. See, wow, you totally did not hear me. And this one, you can rewind. The
Oh, it
fact
was,
that
the
she
second
felt
part,
that
that
she was
being-
her safety was threatened.
Safety was threatened.
That's why I could have punched her in the
That's right.
face.
I forgot about that part.
Come on, it had nothing to do with her being binary.
I admit I forgot that part. The punch part was
Do
funny.
that more than you think you do, but
No, I don't.
I acquiesce to
I
that
don't.
ego.
Well, no, I admit it when it happens. I did.
When
I
you
did-
know it
I
happens.
did forget it happens all the time, and I catch it when it does.
Okay.
Again, I don't forget much of what I say.
Absolutely got it.
But in that moment, even with her feeling uncomfortable or threatened by me, I would have been able to tolerate it better than you and the person who was sitting there with them. Because in those moments, I understand where that person is
I
coming
told
from.
you how I felt. It's not what I would have done. And really, and obviously, I'm doing it for theatrics. Only thing that would have been through my mind was like, you're an idiot. And I would have let it go.
But they're not.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, you can go by definition.
And again, this is
my thing is like I don't even know how you made it to this age if you're that thin skinned, because life has a lot more to throw at you than what I just did.
But that's the thing.
And good luck to you for surviving it.
People's ability to be thick skinned and thin skinned is also fluid. Some people are stronger in certain scenarios than they are in other ones.
They know what when they're stronger. What I found, personal experience and observation, is they stay in the circles that accept for what they do. They fall apart. They fall I on purpose try to get out of my circles. You've witnessed this.
I have, but I've seen you get weak in outside of your circle too.
Name one.
With me and the job that I got you in, it was
weak?
Shaky.
I was learning. Learning is weak.
Yes, and accept that that's a fact.
Here we go. We need a Johnny dictionary. That's what we need. We need a Johnny dictionary.
You have to accept the fact that when you aren't a master at something, yes, you are weak in that situation.
Okay, so not the weak that I'm taking, in weak meaning incapable and all that kind of stuff.
No. I'm just saying in those situations,
you're not as strong as you can be because you don't know.
What are you?
But that's not the weakness I was attributing to that chick at all. At all.
But it's the same. In those scenarios, that was not an area or an arena where they feel the strongest. So they're going to be weaker in a situation that they are not accustomed to. That's just a fact.
Right. And so all you're doing is going back to what I said. So they stay in their circles. And you were like, you do the same thing.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't. I don't. I go out. And if I'm weak for a moment, then I learn like I did with the McKinsey thing. So now I'm no longer weak. I don't just stay because if I go and work on Johnny on this thing, I'm not going to know what I'm doing. I'm going to be weak. I'm going to be offended. No. I don't do that crap.
I'm not going to say this on camera, but I'll point this out when we get off camera. You have your moments where you stay away from situations that are not situations you're strong at, and you'll recognize it when.
I'm not going to say I don't, and again, that's going to be whole.
But that's going to be the whole where your baseline. The majority of people
want
to stay in the pond where they're at least a medium fish. Most
medium fish. What is that? A tuna?
Yeah. Most people at the very least want to be a medium fish. Like that's just, nobody wants to be the small fish.
Yeah, but you know what? If I'm outside of that pond, you're not the bad guy. I'm outside of where I'm comfortable. You're not the bad guy. You didn't do me wrong.
But again, that's the problem
I had with her.
And that comes from people.
She act like he did something wrong.
That comes from people actually interpreting and being and actually interacting with people differently. I commend you for how you handle it.
Yeah.
Could they have handled it in a different way? Sure.
Of course.
Does their community feel that they probably handled it the right way? Very possibly, but that's a train of thought that it varies, and
I just wish we could clone you and just have you have your own continent. That thing would just, in my opinion,
I used to dream for that,
chaotic.
Alas, I'm stuck here.
Chaos. All right, so at this point, we can probably keep going in these circles, but
this is not a circle. This is a very progressive line.
No. I'm not saying the conversation isn't good, but so. Stone thinks. But anyway, so the point that I want to get across from my point of view, and those of you that subscribe and listen to it, this is for you. All right? It is hard to have self-love without self-discipline. Okay? From Stone's point of view, and for those of you that subscribe to it, self-love does not equal self-destruction. Now, for those of you that don't subscribe to that, Johnny, share your thoughts.
I've already shared enough.
Wow, it's kind of a closing thing. Do you not catch what I'm doing here?
No, I hear what you're doing, but I don't. My closing thing is I've said enough. Okay, I will give Stone what he is asking for. Though. I do not feel like you have to set particular barriers or boundaries on yourself to define what your self-love is. When you discover what that is, somebody may view it in a way that may seem self-destructive, but from the inside to you, it may not be that. And do those things a lot. Don't necessarily allow people to dictate what you loving you is. Now, the discipline aspect of it, I can remove that, and we never even got to this part of the conversation because the other stuff was so much more fun. I can remove the self-discipline aspect from it because the definition of what discipline is and the focus that it takes to do something isn't always necessary in self-love. From my perspective, I do understand what Stone's stance is, but those two things are separate. Self-discipline, once you discover something and you set a goal for yourself, when the plan is devised, and I think we agree on this, when the plan is devised and you have a working thought process, and then you decide to do it and sticking to that so that you can accomplish whatever you set out to do, that's the discipline aspect of it. But the self-love part is completely detached from discipline. I do not feel like you need one to have the other one.
So you can't even be self-disciplined in loving yourself.
No, you can be fully self-disciplined and not love yourself.
That's all I'm saying.
You can do both.
That's all.
You can have one without the other is what I'm saying. You're saying you can't have one without the other. You literally just said you can't have self-love without self-discipline. Right. I'm saying they can exist in vacuums separately.
Okay.
That's
so whatever it is you need to do to love yourself, you don't feel that needs to be done on any kind of consistent basis?
Not necessarily.
Okay. So you can love yourself on Monday and hate yourself on Tuesday.
Absolutely.
And that's cool.
If that's your existence,
if that's what makes you happy,
can be. Absolutely.
There it is. All right. Well, you guys already know. Just go to lifeonpodcast.com. That is our hub. You can find everything there, at least our last 10 episodes. But if you want to go any deeper than that, you can go click on one of the little tiny little icons we got and listen on your favorite platform, or watch the video on YouTube. That link is on there as well. I am Stone. I'm at Stone007 on Instagram and Stone007 on Twitter. Where can they find you, Johnny?
Just Johnny Vaughn, JUSTJONYVAN. Everywhere, attempting to love myself on a day-to-day basis, but it doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does.
I'm going to love myself tonight. I'm going to go home and I'm going to get in my man cave, probably get a movie and fall asleep to it. That's about as much as I can love myself.
I'm glad that was G-rated.
Wow. Yeah, I don't do that. I don't just
we love y'all, man. We'll catch y'all next week.
Life force.
Peace.